Okay, so there is something very important that needs to be discussed about this episode of Welcome to the Ballroom. Before I go any further, I just want to state I love this series. I wouldn't have went this far if I didn't. However, it has become increasingly more noticeable by the episode that there's obviously a problem when it comes to the animation of this show. Now, I do know that a lot of the animators are not paid properly. I made videos discussing this, and it's understandable. It's understandable why there could be some derps or problems with art or animation. I will not put the animators personally down. I know that they barely get paid, and they work incredibly long hours, and it's basically a living hell. Regardless, though, this series requires a lot of attention. Since the very beginning, one of the things that's concerned me, and I've talked about, was the art and animation. Since Production IG has been working on many sports series in the past, and they have a good track record of making some really, really good shows, Haikyuu for example, then I expected some really good stuff from Welcome to the Ballroom. I expected some quality art, quality animation, and to be honest, the art and animation do look really good. They do. For the most part, they do. However, the recent episodes have shown a very big flaw. There is way too many still shots. Too many. I'm not even joking. You can go back and watch the latest episode that just came out today and go back to the dancing, okay? Literally, all of the dancing was just still frames. You just see still shots of the characters, just like their bodies like move to the side or whatever, and you just see how the camera's panning over the still shot. That's basically it. All of the dancing that was happening in this episode for like maybe only like a 30-second clip, overall, all of it was just still shots. Now, don't get me wrong, the art looks really good. I'm not putting down the art. I'm not even putting down Welcome to the Ballroom. I actually like this show. I really like this episode for the story and the characters. But when it comes to the art and animation, it's an incredible flaw that has become more and more of a problem by the episode. And it's honestly, at this point, starting to detach me away from being immersed in this show. Because when you have a show that's about dancing, and it's an anime, not a manga, so you can get away with it in a manga because, you know, just you're reading something. But in anime, you expect movement. You expect characters to maneuver and all that, you know, just spin and stuff, dance, and we're not seeing that. We're not seeing what makes an anime. We're just seeing a bunch of still shots. Now, like I said, I'm not trying to put down the animators, because the animators, they work really hard, and they barely get paid for how much they work, and people have died from overworking because of animating. But regardless, though, Welcome to the Ballroom requires a lot of work, and it is shown that if there is some people that just can't animate, they need to get more people in there to start working on this show. Because you could see all the still frames throughout the episode, it's a problem. It really is. And I could see many being very upset with this latest episode because of that. I mean, when you hear the characters saying, oh my god, they're so dynamic, they're you know, dancing, it looks so good, but all you see is like a 10-second still frame, you're like, okay, I mean, I'll take your word for it. I mean, I guess it's nice dancing. I don't know. I just see them just standing there with a still frame. So I'm like, okay, that just takes me out of being immersed in the show. So that's a flaw that I really hope that gets fixed very soon. Most likely the second half of Welcome to the Ballroom. I think it's going to be like a 20-something episode series. Most likely the second half might try to fix this, but right now, it's a problem. And another thing too, it feels like this segment of the, you know, series is being very drawn out. Like, it feels way too long. I think we've already spent like 3 or 4 episodes on this, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if it's because of the art and animation why I'm feeling like this, but it does feel like this arc is being way too overextended. Like, they're showing us flashbacks to Mako and Gaju. Now, I'm not talking about the little Mako and stuff. I'm talking about the flashback we've already seen twice already from the previous episodes. They decide to show that once again in this episode. I'm like, look, I know you're trying to fill up time and all that. It's obvious, but please, for the love of God, don't be showing me the same flashback like every single episode, and then give me a bunch of still frames. So just, I feel like they're trying to extend this arc. I don't know if it was like this in the manga, but it feels like they're just making this drag too much. So besides that, let me get into the good stuff. I'm sorry about the little mini rant, it needed to be said. I needed to get that off my chest, and you know I don't like lying to all of you. So, The episode was about Mako and Gaju and their relationship. We get to see where it all began, where Mako began to dance. And we get to see Gaju's interaction with Mako at a young age and how he felt about ballroom dance. His reaction overall to dancing makes perfect sense. A kid his age, you know, playing sports, playing with his friends and all that, you're at that age where you believe in cooties and stuff, and so just because of how it is, it's understandable why he would think just dancing is a girly thing to do, or why it would just have a bad, I guess, point of view from many people on the outside that don't understand dancing. Because when you look at dancing, if you see a guy like dancing or whatever, especially something like, you know, Welcome to the Ballroom, the dancing in this series, many might not really understand what's happening here. And it's not necessarily a girly sport, it's just people don't know how to appreciate it or understand it. They don't know how to change their viewpoint on it. And in this case, it's understandable why a child his age would act like that, why he would think it's a little bit girly or whatever, and he would just say that stuff to Mako. However, he was very rude to her at a young age, which makes sense. I mean, they were kids, they're siblings, so it's common for siblings to do that. Just, he was really mean. He was really mean at a young age. Like, oh my god, he was awful. But he decided to dance with Mako. He finally started and all that, which I like. I like seeing the little origin story of that, of how he got into dancing, and he actually spoke in his mind saying, oh my god, this is really hard. Like, just dancing, the endurance you need to be able to do this, it's really, really tough. It's like, it's harder than anything else I've ever done, like doing freeze tag, you know, any type of sports and all that on the playground. This is much harder, which shows what dancing requires. And this, once again, could be implied to, you know, Fujita. Fujita, as we know, he's new to dancing, so he doesn't have, like, a really high endurance like all the others, because he's like a fresh starter. He's a newbie. And we're getting to see how he felt about it when he first started, and he's had to build up many years to be where he's at right now. So nobody started off like at 100% perfect. They all had their own problems they had to work through, which shows that Gaju, the reason why he stuck with it is because he wanted to dance, he wanted to be better, but also he was enjoying it because he didn't want to give up, because Mako was showing that she was really good at it as well. So that gets into a little bit of a time skip. Time skip happens, and then you see these questions starting to pop up. Many start to say, hey, you know, are you ever going to get a new partner and all that? Yeah, I mean, you're not going to stay paired up with your sister forever, are you? They're just like, you need to find someone new, because obviously Mako, she's so much shorter than you that you just can't dance to the fullest of your abilities, because the way your legs stretch and all that, and the way her legs, just the length, it's not possible for you probably to dance like you would want. And he never really factored this in. He never really thought about that much. And then after Minnie bringing it up constantly, he started to think about it, like maybe, you know, he just needs to move on. He's holding her back, and she's holding him back, and it's not working for either of them. And it does show that there is something that needs to be done here, but it was a problem with both of them. They were not communicating properly at all. And you do gotta like, in this episode, when Shizuku, when she actually mentioned that how he dances, how his, like, you know, how he stretches his leg very long, it was very rough for Shizuku to be able to do. She's like, this is really rough. It's really hard to be able to keep up with him. She's like, it's impressive that Mako is able to do this with no complaints at all, and she's much shorter than me. So it does show that Mako was very skilled. She's a very skilled dancer, not just because of last episode, which was beautiful, but she's very skilled. And so, with her skill, to be able to keep up with someone like Gaju that is making Shizuku sweat, it shows that she is probably perfect for him. He needs to understand that he honestly needs to work better at being a better lead when it comes to her. And she also needs to be a little bit more open as well and not hide her feelings towards her brother. So besides that, I feel like I like the backstory, I like the origin story to these two characters. And they're probably going to get back together, which is certain, because as I've already said, I was told that we haven't even met the main girl yet. And I'm still confused, or I'm looking forward to seeing how the main girl is, what type of personality she has to be with, you know, our main character, Fujita. So, I'm looking forward to that, I really am, but for now, though, it seems like Mako will eventually be ending up back up with Gaju, being his partner, because it's all focusing and set up for that. You can see in this episode, he's starting to realize that Mako is much more than she appeared to be, and she's starting to also realize her flaws as well, and it became to her dancing, too, with him. She's starting to realize that she needs to step up and ask her what she wants to do, too. So anyways, Besides that, we also have a little scene with, Gaju and Fujita. Gaju actually challenges Fujita and is like, I will win and all that, which is really cool. It just shows that he finally is looking at Fujita as an opponent, like a rival, which is really good. It's respect between each other. And also, Hyodo, how he popped up in this episode. You can see how he wanted to dance. You could tell by his reaction, all that, when he saw Shizuku, doing really good out there. You could see that the man was getting very upset because, he viewed Shizuku as a rival, and he wanted to probably be out there dancing because she's getting ahead of him, and he doesn't like that at all. I mean, he's happy for her, but at the same time, he doesn't like it that she's getting ahead of him, and he's just falling behind because of his injury. So cool stuff. Really cool stuff overall when it came to this episode. Besides the certain flaws when it came to the art and animation or the dragging of, this arc, it was a solid episode. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I love you all so much. Please be safe. Chibi out.